everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dark Rhino Security Confidential. I'm your host, Manoj Tandon, and today we have a very special guest joining us all the way from Lagos in Nigeria, is Confidence Staveley. Confidence is a cybersecurity awareness evangelist. She's a cybersecurity professional with a mountain of experience in the profession. She is an author, an entrepreneur, and she has a lot of superpowers, and one of the ones that we're really going to be interested in today is she was nominated for and she won Cybersecurity Woman of the Year, and that's pretty powerful. So, Confidence, thank you and welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Manoj. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I really appreciate you taking the time at the end of your day to do this for us. I'm sure our listeners are going to be eager to hear what you have to say. You know, where a great place to start is you are a cybersecurity evangelist. How did you get into cyber? What was your why cyber? Why not something else?
Okay, so this was an accident. I say this quite a lot, but yeah, it was an accident. It was an accident of curiosity, which honestly was just that. I was doing my MSc at the time. I had earned first degree and just wanted to do an MSc straight away, and I was to pick because it was an IT management MSc, and I was to pick an elective, like one of those nice courses to have. And I looked around, I was like, nothing was challenging enough for me. I didn't want to get bored. So I'd done a lot of the tech stuff. Just to put things in perspective as well, I came from a programming background. So I was someone who codes a lot. So I was like, every other thing seemed very familiar to me. But there was this elective that was cryptography. And I was like, okay, so what is cryptography about? And some of my mates were like, it's a very, very tough module. It's something that we have to share with the engineering department. And I was like, okay, it is tough. That means it's exciting. That means it's challenging. I want to be there. And they're like, I usually really want to do that because, the person who takes that course is like, he has like 10 heads, like literally, it's so tough. I'm like, every time you guys say the word tough, that means it's for me. I really want to see what's there. I want to see why this is challenging and why it should be exciting. And you know what? I signed up for this elective and I had a blast. And I knew that I wanted more from this place. I knew I wanted more where this came from, literally. And that was
did you have a heavy math background?
I did have a heavy math background, but I had, at the time I was coding in Java and C# and C and OpenCV as well. I had built this automated intrusion detection system, but like with facial recognition. Where if you come in, okay, so I had built my version of a brand that actually works. I'm not going to mention the name, but when you come into somebody's house, you ring the bell and they can see you. I had built a mini.
Ring.
Steve said the brand, so I had built a mini version of Ring at the time. So I was in programming, like that was what I was enjoying. So I came in from that background to enjoy cryptography. I was like, okay, so there is more where this came from, and I just wanted to explore.
So you know what? You're the first cybersecurity professional I bet that says they enjoy cryptography.
Really?
So
I don't know.
But please keep. That's why I asked if you had a math background, because it's a very math-heavy subject.
Yes, I don't know why I enjoyed it. Honestly, I don't know why I enjoyed it. But
there you wanted more after that, so
yeah, and I was curious. So for me, it was I think cryptography brought out a key part of me that I find has been keeping me going in InfoSec, which is curiosity. The curiosity that's packed up has helped me grow my skill set in just about many domains in cybersecurity. And yes, that was how it all started. I started building out the skills. I started, of course, working in environments where the skills were needed as well.
So when you landed your first job in cyber, were you starting off as an analyst, or what did you do?
I was starting off as an analyst. So I worked at the time for a small company. Before that time, I didn't exactly land my first role immediately after uni in information security. I was doing some, we call them side gigs in Nigeria. I was doing some side gigs in Nigeria, but within the InfoSec industry and nothing really formal. So I would sort of be like the freelancer you call in. And at the time, I was more interested in VAPT. So that was the bulk of what I was doing. And then I then landed this job as an analyst at a small firm where they were building the next generation insurance products for the masses in Nigeria. And literally, my role was to ensure that that solution stayed secure. So that was my first, real role in InfoSec in the corporate setting, and it was also exciting as well.
So here stateside, when we get a lot of news about Nigeria, high tech is rarely mentioned, if ever, right? So it's so refreshing to hear from a professional that the country is actually investing in technology, right?
Yeah.
Right. And are you seeing, just as a quick aside here, Nigerian, the corporate sector in Nigeria, are they embracing technologies for cyber, or do you see them lagging behind?
Okay, so in Nigeria, the maturity levels varies across sectors. So yeah, you find that the banking sector are very mature. Like the banking sector in Nigeria are way ahead of a lot of the sectors here in terms of the tools they use. Even with the governance of cyber within those organizations, their CISOs actually report straight onto the board and do not have to report through the CIO or any such thing. They're independent of the CIO, for example. So governance wise, with the tools and a lot of the things they do, they're quite ahead of the curve. But there are many more industries they are still struggling to see the value of cyber. And I also believe that the reason why that is so is because digitization is not at the same pace or at the same level as the Western world. In the Western world, where there's a lot more digitization of just about every day-to-day task or business task in most organizations, cyber increases in its value, and of course, you can easily tell why this investment is worthy. But I see that COVID has actually done us some good here. What has happened is we've sort of been fast-tracked and been sort of move straight on to the fourth industrial revolution in Nigeria here, and everyone is like, you know what, let's digitize stuff. And while we're digitizing, everyone is conscious about cyber. And also within the lockdown period, we had quite a lot of breaches as well. We've also had breaches across the world affect companies in Nigeria. And so the reality of cybersecurity issues have become very apparent, even to the woman who sells groceries on the streets, to the guy who wears a nice shirt and a nice tie and sits in a nice corporate office, So the realities have been spread equally across the board. And so people are beginning to, engage in conversations around cyber. I mean, I'm looking forward to to October, which is, of course, Cyber Awareness Month, and it's celebrated a lot here as well. So the conversations are really kicking in great gear, and we begin to see a whole lot more embrace of technology and all of the other things that are required to.
Well, one thing you mentioned, you folks are, I'm going to say the word, a little more advanced than some of the things that even what we're doing here, is that you mentioned the CISOs have their own office, and we're big advocates of that. In American companies, and a lot of American companies, that's not the case. And there's a debate about that, whether the CISO should be part of the CIO's office or not.
Yeah.
But typically, if they are separate, then it would, a lot of times you take the politics out of the competing. Yeah.
Exactly. What we're also seeing here, and that's been enabled by a regulation by the central bank as well. So we
Oh,
find as well that here, cybersecurity is more compliance driven. So maybe that's also where you guys are sort of maybe ahead of the curve than we are, or possibly at the same level. But here, cybersecurity is so compliance driven. So the reason we have that CISO guy who can now report to the board is a regulation from the industry's regulator. So we're finding that a lot of those regulations are playing a big role in expediting cybersecurity best practices and uptake of it as well across Nigeria.
that's fantastic. That's great to hear. So tell me, what led to your nomination as Cybersecurity Woman of the Year, and then congratulations, by the way, you actually were given that recognition. So fantastic work there.
Thank you so much, Manoj. And if I truly was going to answer that question, I would say I don't know. But I'm going to mention a couple of reasons why I think I was nominated. So one of it, and just to share a very funny story, I didn't know I was nominated. I also didn't even know I was
Really?
I didn't know I was shortlisted. So what happened was 3 days before I saw the email, I went to LinkedIn and saw a couple of people, that were shortlisted, sharing their pictures and saying they were short. And I was actually, sending applauses. I was congratulating
Hey.
other women. I had no idea. I had no idea. So apparently, my the email attached to my LinkedIn is not one I check often. So it's the forward facing email isn't one I really monitor. So
Okay.
that was where the communication had been sent off to. So I didn't see it. And so I think it was a day to shortlisting me over. And I just randomly on a morning went to that email address and checked. And I found out on that same day that I had made IFSEC top influencers list. And that was the same day I found I
Wow.
was shortlisted. And I screamed my head off.
That's fantastic. What a surprise.
Like it was Saturday morning and I was screaming around the house. I was like, what's going on here? I didn't know. I was all over the place. And I'm happy that I was congratulating other people, that I was genuinely happy. And just to find out that I was also shortlisted. But I would say that some of the work that I'm doing in Nigeria and, also spreading out to the rest of Africa, they say is really commendable. And really, if I was to share humbly some of it, I've been quite a strong player in awareness and driving awareness around cyber issues. Some of it has also come with very unconventional but very effective methods. So, for example, my organization, Cyber Safe Foundation, was able to secure a partnership with the UK government in Nigeria to launch a cyber awareness campaign in response to the increased cyber attacks that COVID was enabling. And we did something very profound. We launched Africa's first Afrobeats cybersecurity awareness song. So it was literally like a song you could be dancing to, but it's teaching about cyber, literally. And
can you send us a link to that?
I will definitely.
We'll put that in the video. We'll put that in the podcast. We'll put it in the video part of it.
Okay.
We'll put snippets of it. Please send us.
I definitely will. So we did something like that, and I also, we also share these really nice TikTok-like videos, but we don't use TikTok. We use Instagram Reels, and we make them really funny, but they're driving cyber awareness best practices as well. We make really short videos that also drive points home. We are also working with girls across Nigeria to give girls in underserved communities globally sought after cybersecurity skills. So, for example, as at yesterday, some of our girls attained hacker status on Try Hack Me, and these girls are only between the ages of 15 to 21. They've only been training for 4 months. So it's all of this work combined. I mean, we're also working with seniors as well to create content that's purposed for seniors to protect them. We work with Facebook as well to build literacy materials around protecting children. So we actually have spread around, and our key focus is to ensure that the most vulnerable people in our society have all the knowledge and the skills required to protect themselves. And this includes even businesses. We've also found in our work with the UK government that small businesses are very, 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 very likely to be attacked and are very, very likely to become victims, So we're supporting them as well, and we supported them during that time. And so all of this work was just so much we're doing in 1 year, we're still doing, that I think was the reason we were nominated, or I was.
Do you ever sleep? Do you ever sleep?
I get asked this question a lot. I sleep. I think one of the things that I do really well, and I want to share on this platform, is I think I have a strength with rallying people around something I'm passionate about. So I pitch and I get a team that is even more passionate than I am on the subject. So you find that I'm able to do so much, but it's not me. It's all the people. It's an army. It's taking a village to do all of this. It's taking a whole community to do all of the work. So I'm very proud of the Noble for Mother community. It's a community of young people in Nigeria that all they do is just drive awareness around cybersecurity and drive awareness around specifically social engineering. And so we do this across our initiatives. We're able to value support enough to help us lift the heavy weights, but without killing any one of us. So yeah.
And you founded the CyberSafe Foundation, correct?
Yes, I did.
And all this work is being done by your foundation.
Yes.
That's so. How big has your foundation gotten? How many people are you helping you do this heavy lifting? Maybe get a little sleep too.
Okay, so we're sort of segmented across our initiatives. So we have 4 initiatives, and I think I've mentioned them on this call. We have Cyber Girls, that is equipping girls in underserved communities with globally sought after skills. And for that, for example, we have a volunteer community of about 21 mentors across three continents and 13 countries in the world. Yeah, we have coaches. We have about 12 coaches. If you go plus the batches, I think we're about 24 coaches right now. We have facilitators in each of the locations we're working, so that's about 12. So it's quite a lot of people at different levels helping in each initiative. In the campaign, I spoke about driving awareness around how social engineering happens and how people can protect themselves. We have close to 200 volunteers over there.
Wow!
And they're spread across the country as well. So really, it's just community.
It's a big organization. That is a very significant effort and a wonderful achievement.
Thank you so much
to build that. To be able to build an organization that's as big and as capable and doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
So one of the things with CyberSafe Foundation is when you are looking at empowering women in Africa, in Nigeria, across the world, perhaps even in all the places that you're working,
mm-hmm.
What is the biggest sets of challenges you're facing in that effort?
I think the biggest challenge is funding.
What's that?
Funding. Money.
Funding.
Yes.
Funding.
So we are struggling with that at the moment. But we found creative ways. I mean, for me, I don't stop. When I want to achieve something, I go for it, and we find ways to work around it and get it to work. That is where I am. Recently, for example, we were lacking on laptops to help our girls learn. I mean, these are very enthusiastic girls who would not ordinarily be able to afford the quality of what we're giving to them for free. But we couldn't afford infrastructure, and just to put it in, give everyone listening to this a perspective. The 3 major issues to girls gaining digital skills in Africa are power, internet, and access to computing devices. These are things that are not problems in Western countries, right? But power, stable power, great internet, just say access to internet for starts, not even great. Yep. And then the third one is access to devices. A lot of the girls cannot afford devices. So how are you supposed to learn a digital skill when you don't have a laptop, So we had a weird sharing ratio. In some of our hubs, we had 1 laptop shared by 5 girls. It's something as bad as that. And so what we did was recently we couldn't afford to buy it, and we put out a tweet. And in the normal nature of the InfoSec community, people are just so gracious, and they sent us laptops. And now the girls I mentioned, just few minutes ago, have achieved hacker status. They're now in top 5%.
That's
try hacking me.
fantastic.
Just 1 month from that time I'm speaking about. So if they're giving the tools we need, the people we want to help are ready to learn, they're ready to make the best out of their lives. But these shortcomings have been an issue. I also believe that, okay, you're going to say something, Manoj?
Yeah, I was going to ask, has there been cultural hurdles with women taking a more advanced role?
There
Especially
have
cybersecurity, that's a very critical function, right?
Yes, there's been those conversations, and I posted about one of them on my LinkedIn 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and somebody's mother, one of the girls we there's a beneficiary. She she casually said it, so I didn't think it meant so much to her, but it actually made me shed a tear. And she said, "Oh, because I checked on her and see she was making so much progress. Usually, when our girls make so much progress or they're underperforming, they get a hello from me. So either way, you're going to
Yeah.
get a hello. So if you're doing so well, you say get a thumbs up. If you're not doing so good, I'm like, how are you doing? Are you okay? So I sort of do that with the girl. So this girl was doing so well, and I was like, oh, well done. I can see your numbers coming in great. I'm very proud of you. And then she goes, oh, thank you so much. This means a lot to me. You know why? Because every day I wake up and I'm trying to prove a point, because my mom has said, you know what, there's no point investing in you so much. You're going to get married away. So every day she
Oh
wakes
my.
up, she wakes up trying to prove a point that I'm worthy. So there is that cultural angle.
Yeah, I saw that video. That's a video actually on your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
correct?
it's crazy. It's crazy in Nigeria and in many parts of Africa where this is not an exceptional case. We've had this case. We have case upon case upon case of how girls are having to cross multiple hurdles to access education. First, there's the hurdle of if they choose between the boy and the girl in the family, if especially because resources are scarce, and say, you know what, it's better off educating the boy. So that is one. And then even from going from basic education to then entrance into tech, there's then a stereotype that girls don't do great in tech. Why not do something else that is tech is so difficult. And then there is that stereotype. And then you move from that stereotype of tech being difficult to then cybersecurity, where there are many more hurdles to cross. So we're dealing with all of that. But what we are finding is that girls, once given those platforms to learn, once given access to role models. If you notice, I mentioned mentors. All of our mentors are female, and that's intentionally designed so the girls can see that this is possible. She's done it. I can do it.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So it's carefully designed so girls can see all of what they require and have all of what they require to bloom into the best version of themselves.
See, that's fantastic, and that's very brave. I can understand those cultural hurdles, and especially you look at non-Western societies, a lot of those stereotypes are prevalent.
Exactly.
But there's one stereotype that I'll demystify for everybody who's listening. And I think I've mentioned it a few times on different episodes, but we had a recruiter on, and she mentioned to us that cybersecurity is one of the only professions out there where women are making 30% more than men are in the same field, at least in the United States.
I would say at least in the United States.
Yeah, at least in the United States. So I don't know about the rest of the world, but everyone that you're bringing up, if they come over to this side of the world, they'll do well.
Oh, I need to clap for that. Actually, I'm so excited to hear that.
Yes, that I was surprised when I learned that. I didn't know that, but it's apparently true that, and it stems from the fact that women in cybersecurity, at least what was described to me, was that women in cybersecurity are coming in immensely qualified.
Yes,
they're spending a lot more time and effort, and are getting the qualifications, so their demand. And here in the U.S., we have a skew in supply and demand. We have more jobs than we have people for InfoSec. So it's led to a good living for women.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, please share that with the rest of the
I definitely
people.
will. I definitely will.
So, when you look at cybersecurity, what do you see particularly about that profession that can empower women in African nations versus going to medical school or going into engineering? Do you see a advantage that cybersecurity provides over some of the other STEM or non-STEM based curriculums?
Okay, so I want to start first by saying that um, so for a lot of the girls we're able to reach, and a lot of the women and people that we get to empower, we find that they never saw this as a route first and foremost. And I believe that women should be given all of these options to pick from.
Oh, so you're saying so these women had never imagined that they
Never,
would be going into.
never.
So this was that. So the people you are helping are not necessarily people who are coming to you with a dream that I want to become
No,
X, and you're
no.
gonna.
So I think I can really understand with them given my background. So let me share a bit about myself. I started coding at
Yeah,
age
please.
18, and I was supposed to be a medical doctor. I wanted to be a
Oh,
medical
really?
doctor. But I found out later that that wasn't my dream. It was a dream of my parents so to be. And honestly, my dad still wants me to be Dr. Confidence. And I pray that some
Sure.
university gives me an honorary degree, because
Well, you can go back and get a PhD, and you can be doctor.
there's so much more
Be
to
doctor.
So he was living vicariously through me when he said, you know what, you have to be a medical doctor. And he's been selling me the dream for so long, And I just put some context in my parents. Both my parents do not have degrees as well. So I was that first child they wanted to give the best. And in all their understanding, we didn't have degrees. I want to give you the best. And I think the best field to go into was medicine. So
Oh, they were just going all the way. They were like, yeah, we.
exactly. And in all fairness to them, but fortunately and unfortunately for them, I'm quite a child that always had a mind of her own. So my parents randomly said, you know what, don't while away time, because in Nigeria there is an exam you write before you get into university. So, but you have to wait a bit
Yes.
from when you finish college, when you finish high school to get into university, and you write that exam. So in that period of time, my parents said, you know what, go and go into this computer school. That's what we call it, like some place where you just learn computing. And I was like, oh yeah, let me go there. Manoj, you won't believe it. 3 months into that time, I started coding, and I came back home one day, and I told my parents. At the time, I didn't also have a computer. Remember, this is also why I can relate with those girls. I had to go into that place to access a computer to gain the skills and practice my skills. So that's why I can relate with every single thing they feel. So, and I came back, and what I did was I scribbled out on cardboards. I made a presentation there with cardboards, and I had to convince my parents why being a medical doctor wasn't going to be the thing I would do anymore. I had to go into IT, and this was what I needed to do. So I made my cardboards and I made my arguments, and my mother looked at me with tears streaming down her eyes. I'm like, okay, if you say that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. And I was lucky enough. I got some scholarships, and when she saw the scholarships started to come in, okay, great, you're doing well. So I got the scholarship for the first degree, got the scholarship for the master's, and then it was like, okay, so I actually had this thing figured out after all. And so that was how I started. So I can see those girls very much. They were not giving those experiences. For me, it was just experiencing tech for the first time. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so those girls were also letting them experience it and say, okay, wow, this is mind blowing. I actually love it. Okay, so let's go full throttle on this. And that's exactly what we're doing for a lot of the girls. They just need to be given these flavors, options.
You're giving them the exposure,
yes.
And that's igniting the imagination. Exactly. That's driving a motivation.
Exactly.
And there becomes. And incidentally, we actually share that story in common. So I was going to be a medical doctor.
I think there are very many medical doctors in InfoSec.
I bailed out of it. I was like, you know what? This is not my thing. This is boring as heck. I don't want to do this. And I became an aerospace engineer, but took a little bit of a different path. And then eventually I'm in cybersecurity. So there.
Wow, that's such a nice.
But I know that. But I know that conversation with parents where it's like, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to do this. Not going to happen. I'm sure my dad never said it to me, but I'm probably sure he was, probably disappointed. He was like, "What the
Exactly.
heck?" you know,
And as a
what
parent
the
now,
heck?
I understand. I totally do. And I'm like, I believe my parents were very brave. They didn't understand what I was saying, but maybe they just saw that maybe I had this thing on a tea and like, maybe she had it figured out. I don't know if I can ever be as brave as they were, as they were, but they just let me have that. And I want to bring that back to these girls as well. I find that, cybersecurity also, as a woman, gives you um options for balance as well. You can have a lot more opportunities as well to work remotely, which a lot of women find can help them balance different areas
That's
of their
actually very
lives. So
true.
I think that that's also a key thing I present to the girls as a key, will I say pitch?
Yeah, that's I actually had not considered that. That makes a lot of sense, because women can work, anyone can work remotely,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates a flexibility to do many other things
Exactly.
that they would like to do. One thing you're a very passionate person,
Thank
and I
you,
think
Raj.
I would really, for our listeners, I think that's a key to success. If you follow what you're passionate about, you're going to do well, and you're a testament to that. You've you've had great success, and it's obvious to anyone that's going to watch this and listen to this that you are absolutely passionate about what you do, and it matters to you. And I think any human being that takes that kind of a mental attitude
Mm-hmm.
is probably going to have success in their life
Thank you so
if they
much.
follow to that. So I think we touched on this a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned cybersecurity in African companies, especially in banking, has come a long way, and it's very regulatory driven.
Mm-hmm.
But you also mentioned, small businesses are equally susceptible, and we would agree with that statement completely. We've seen the same thing in the United States. Do you think those smaller companies are developing an awareness? Is the CyberSafe Foundation holding any educational um, classes or seminars and things to educate some of those other sectors in the economy about cyber?
Thank you so much, Manoj. I actually wrote a full page article for a major
Okay,
Nigerian daily. I'm going to share the link as well to share.
please do. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, to
Yes.
share some of the findings we had. I mentioned that we had this time when we worked with the UK government to drive awareness. That project was broken into two main parts. One of it was mass awareness, where we reach millions of people with cyber tips, and then the other segment was targeted at small and medium scale enterprises. And what we did in that side of things is we brought in employees, technical and non-technical employees of SMEs, and we upskilled them. Now, in that time, we had crazy findings. We found out, for example, that over 50% of the people who came into the training did not know how to recognize phishing emails from legitimate ones.
Oh,
That's it.
I can believe that.
Yes,
And that's a big source of vulnerabilities and
exactly. We
breaches.
found that a lot of them didn't have any basic security controls. I'm quite a big believer in going back to the basics. What are the basics? Having great passwords, two-factor authentication, and having firewalls, and having ways of detecting cyber attacks. Those
Yeah.
very basic things. A lot of them didn't have any of those basic measures. Down to, and when I mean small businesses, I mean sometimes as small as stores that just do business via Instagram. Some of them didn't even have two-factor authentication on those accounts. I've had people speak to me and say, "Oh, this is my livelihood," and that is at the point when they've lost their account, and they've just lost the cyber attack, and they're like, "Oh, this is my
Wow.
livelihood," and that livelihood could just have been preserved by having two-factor turned on. So what we have done is, in that time where we had the support of the UK government, we're able to have these sessions with over 4,000 SMEs. And the,
Wow.
the results are just mind blowing. Again, I'm going to share how those people progressed and how that's changing. They've been able to put in controls in place in those organizations. A lot of them are coming back to say, "You know what, we want more knowledge," and we're referring them to, of course, more resources. We're seeing them telling us, "Oh, we found this out in our environment, and we're doing this X, Y, and Z about this." So we've had quite great success stories, but we are hoping that we can continue to do that work and possibly begin to build models around how other countries as well can implement this, because we find that this is a big brain problem.
It's a huge problem, and it's fabulous that you're doing. In fact, share some of those things with us, and we'll even get them posted on our website if people, as educational, we're big proponents of educating. We think if people were, like you were saying, did the basics, they would be much, much safer. And we'd see, so as you put things out there, I would say share them, and we'll make sure that they get out as much as we can. Or if you're putting them out on Twitter and whatnot, we'll recast them as well.
Sure, I would share them. I would definitely share them.
That's wonderful to hear. In terms of progress that's being made, let's switch to real quickly to career progress. People that you are helping go through the CyberSafe Foundation, and you're touching them, how have their careers progressed? Have you tracked, do you have any great, I'm sure you have lots of great stories there, but
Manoj, I'm sure you found one of them. I think the video you were speaking about was one of the
I did watch that.
So I would share it again with you, so you can add to the notes as well. But this is our first cohort really for the Cyber Girls program, and this cohort ends in December. But what we have seen is really with Cyber Girls program, what we have is 7 months intensive training and then 3 months internship placement. That's what we're looking to achieve. And these girls came in, a lot of them without digital literacy skills. Like literally, we had to take them, telling them, "Oh, this is a PC. This is a mouse, and this, and they came in
starting from ground zero.
We didn't assume anything. Honestly, that ground zero wasn't like, if there was anything lower than a ground zero, we possibly would have started from there because we didn't want to assume anything. And so these girls come in every single work day to learn from the time they started off. And these girls who didn't know anything currently know how to use Bash, for example, for automating network reconnaissance. They know how to use Linux. They know how to, like I mentioned earlier on, some of them have achieved hacker status. So some of them are on level 8, I think, on Try Hack Me. Some of them are they're just blazing, and we're seeing that very positively steep progress in their uptake of the knowledge, and they're excited. You need to watch the videos of the testimonials. They're speaking from their heart, to see that they are progressing. What we want to be able to do with these girls is give them both. For those who choose, they can choose out of the 7 learning paths we're giving, that we're offering them. So we don't want to overload them with so much of knowledge, and they're just all over the place. So we're getting them right now as we speak to be able to pick between 7 options, which includes threat intelligence, cloud security, penetration testing, network engineering, to most of the basic things, incident response as well. So they get to pick one of those paths and then learn squarely in that path for the next 3 months. So, but what we have seen so far is we have been able to get them from ground zero to an appreciable level of the basics of information security and cyber security, generally speaking, with so much excitement for more.
How much time does it typically take them from when you're starting from less than 0 to them being competent about, let's incident response? Let's just pick something. What's been your experience there?
Interestingly, with the combination of approaches, so we don't use just instructor-led approach. We also have project-based learning. A lot of the girls also learn in groups, which means that there's a lot of peer learning that happens. So typically, for them to get to confident levels with 7 months.
Wow, that's very quick.
That's very quick. But that's also, the training is quite intensive. So that's also with a mixture of things. So let me tell you how intensive this is. And it's also fun the way we've designed it. So there's a lot of gamification.
Well, I would imagine anything that you have your hands into would probably be fun.
You know that Manoj, that we even have like outside of the classroom, on Fridays we call it Cyber Friday. The girls come and casually chat about cyber incidents across the world. So we give them 2 topics and they chat among themselves for 1 hour and they just talk about it. What that is doing is we are building a culture of them reading and getting acquainted with what's happening around the world, learning from incidences, but in a way that's confident enough for them to have a casual chat, like they were gossiping amongst themselves. So even when they're not in the classroom, they don't realize we're setting them up to learn and get great habits that will help them, do very well in the industry. So yeah, it's fun and it's intensive.
So I would assume that you have a lot of corporations that are helping you so that they can actually get that project-based experience.
Yes. So within the fellowship, we also have something called the Open Day. It happens every last 2 days of the month. So we currently have September's Open Day. In fact, Manoj, I'm inviting you. Come and see the girls actually show off. It's their day of showing off. So they're coming in their peer learning groups, across our 6 locations, physical locations in Nigeria, and they just connect via the internet and show off. For some girls right now, they are learning how to work with Splunk. So they might come in and want to show off what they've been able to do with Splunk. So their project-based learning is not just outside of the fellowship during the internship, but it's also set up in such a way that they are able to learn, or they are able to work on a project towards their open day. And in so doing, they actually get something done that they will be taking on into the real workplace. So by the time they get into the real workplace, when they're getting placements, which again, yes, we are getting support from corporates within and outside Nigeria for the placement. They then sort of go in with their hands slightly soiled and can actually get work and value delivered in those spaces.
Fantastic. Send me an invite.
I will. I will.
This COVID thing has shut down everybody's travel. It's just made everything not fun anymore. But please send an invite. I would love this. That's fantastic. See, I would be. I'll reach out to you separately. I'm very interested in the curriculum because we're doing work here with disadvantaged people, trying to get them involved with cyber. I'd love to, instead of reinventing the wheel, if you have good ideas, I'd just love to learn some of those, and maybe we can apply those with some of the work we're doing with disadvantaged people here in the United States. That would be wonderful.
I'll be very glad to share.
That would be fantastic. I can see why you won Cybersecurity Woman of the Year. You're tough competition. That's tough competition. So, getting back to cyber real quick, what do you see as, if there was one thing you were going to evangelize with everybody, about cyber or information security, what is it that what advice would you give them, or what would you have to say?
If there was only one.
Only one thing, yeah. Because we know there's a lot of things. So, but I'm gonna force you to one thing.
2-factor. It's
really,
multi-factor authentication is such a big thing that I believe can really, really help. A lot of people still struggle with password hygiene. And
big time.
It's one of the biggest issues we have in the African continent as well. After insider threat, one of the biggest sources of incidents or cyber incidents within our continent still has to do with passwords. And so really you could still have been able to manage that in a way if passwords were very poor, but maybe there was some sort of strong multi-factor authentication there. And that's why I'm such a big advocate of 2-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, as you want to call it. So there's one thing, it will be that.
Fantastic. Let me ask you, how could our listeners get involved with your work? Is there anything that our listeners could do if they wanted to get involved with the CyberSafe Foundation?
Oh, there's so much of volunteering opportunities here. And, I tell people that, sort of come in contact with us, I was like, you really want to decide that you want to volunteer, because once you get in here, you will get so what's the word again that I use? You will get so blown away and so, I don't want to say the word that's coming to my head, but
you'll be captivated.
You'll be captivated.
Totally...
Exactly. You'll be so captivated that you really want to do more. So yes, we have volunteering opportunities within all of our initiatives. As we speak, if you know how to speak a language other than English, for example, we're looking to, or rather, we're working on some handbooks to ensure that the information we've been able to put into materials in English, we can translate them to other languages that are consumed across Africa. So if you speak Arabic, if you speak Swahili or any other language or French within Africa, please, your skills are required here. We also need volunteers across Cyber Girls initiatives as well, the Cyber Girls Initiative, to help with the girls. So the skills are required here. And we really need donations as well. I can share a donation link as well. We need partners. We really need partners. For some of the partnerships we need, they have to subsidize the cost of things that we are currently consuming. We're not for profit, and then we need all the help we can get with funding. So it might not be handing us cash. It might be giving us something for cheaper or for no amount. It could be just that. It could be that as well. So it could be with infrastructure. For example, we've spoken about laptops. For example, that could be something that could help a girl in Nigeria, in Ghana, that we're going into very soon. Really, really, really help with her learning. So yes, you can donate, you can partner, and you can volunteer.
That's fantastic. And we'll put all the links in the show notes that you send us. So everyone listening, please make sure that you open up the notes and get engaged. Confidence has, it's a great organization, and they're doing fantastic work. We're at the hour here. I wanted to give you a chance. Anything that you would like to mention or bring up? It's your floor.
Oh,
Are you any other publications you're doing? Any books you might be writing? Any movies that you might be appearing in?
Oh yeah, movies, clickbait.
Yeah.
I think I'm planning a watch party for the girls as well. On Netflix. Yeah, because Cyber doesn't have to be all so, sometimes you can just chill out and just learn about but I'm really liking some movies like clickbait on Netflix, and I think everyone should sort of see it. And there's a book I'm also really digging now, cybersecurity attack and defense strategies. So this is one that if you really, really want to look at, actually, if you just making an entrance, and you want some expert insight, this is a very great book, and I would absolutely recommend it. I know that the camera is mirroring this, but yeah, I hope you make sense out of it. But it's
who's the author?
Yuri. I can't say his last name. Yuri and Edal. So
okay,
I could send you that as text.
No, I'm sure the camera will get it correct. But that's great of you to share that. Yeah. Confidence, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and thanks for wonderful insights and the great work that you're doing. You absolutely deserved the award, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, Manoj. Thank you so much. And it was
we look forward to
be here as well and to share. I mean, this was a chat. This is such a fun chat.
Yeah, well, our mission is to expose people to different ideas and information security, the work that they are doing, not just from cybersecurity, but from affecting people's lives. And you are one of a very great personality to have. I had a great time.
Thank you so much,
having this chat on a Friday. What a great way to kick off the weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll have to get you back.
Yes,
we're going to have to get you back.
We do.
We'll have you back on the show at the next major milestone, which I'm sure will only be a week away, but at the rate at which you work.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much, Confidence.
Thank you so much, Manoj. It's a pleasure to be here.